everyone, and welcome to the 100th episode of the Unsolicited Film Reviews podcast.
I wish I had a noisemaker.
I'm Zach Miller. He, of course, is Martin Cook. And
Oh, don't burn your house down.
yeah, let me know if it goes tits up back there. That'd be a hell of a way to start the 100th episode. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been quite the journey. We started this thing back in 2019 when I was just writing articles, just movie reviews by myself, and then you hopped on board about 8 months later or something like that, and then we started the podcast shortly after that, and here we are. What, 7 years later? So
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I
It
mean, we
hasn't been
did.
a consistent 7-year effort, but we've been pretty good lately, I think.
No, we did take a short year and a half hiatus or whatever it was, but we hopped right back on that bicycle, and here we are giving you consistent content ever since.
Yeah. And the pandemic ones were not really regularly scheduled. They were just kind of whenever we wanted to put one out
Yeah,
during the
whatever,
pandemic.
where we wanted just a break from the depression of lockdowns and
Yeah,
shit like
exactly.
that. So, but yeah, it's been a wild ride, and we went from just doing articles to Spotify, and now here we are on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. So enjoy, drink it
Oh, yeah.
in. So this is a special one, obviously, and we're gonna cover my top 10 favorite movies of all time, and we're gonna do Martin's next week. We're not leaving him out. Don't worry, I'm not monopolizing this whole thing, even though I did start the site. So yeah, it's just a good occasion to celebrate our favorite movies, which is completely subjective. But before we get
Yeah.
into that, the Golden Globes were this past Sunday. A little bit of industry news for you. 83rd Golden Globes, hosted by Nikki Glazer. We're not going to do a full in-depth review just because the Golden Globes are basically a circle jerk party for Hollywood. So, but
Yeah.
anything really stand out to you?
Nothing that really stood out. Yeah, we've talked about this before. The Golden Globes aren't necessarily predictive for the Oscars. People think of them as being, oh, wow, this must mean momentum for something. It generally doesn't. It's a totally different voting body. And so I was surprised by a couple of the awards. And then there's always the weird Golden Globe categories shit with what they consider to be musical or comedy. For instance, Rose Byrne, who, when we talked about some of our famous, our favorite performances of the past year, I mentioned her performance was great in If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You. But she had no business winning in the category of musical or comedy, as she said in her speech. She definitely didn't sing, and it was like the least comedic performance. It was very intense and very serious about a woman basically having a mental breakdown. So yeah, the I wouldn't say that's a surprise, but those kind of things just keep standing out how odd those categories are.
Yeah, and this is their first year that they did Best Podcasts. Unfortunately, your humble
Yeah.
hosts were not nominated this year. Maybe we'll get them next year.
Yeah.
But yeah, that category was a whole shit show. And the more I look into it, the more I notice how just not just like left wing, right wing political it is. It's also very like backstage, glad handing, greasing the palms kind of stuff, where you have to pay a fee, you have to go kiss the ring of the Golden Globes voters and have all these meetings and basically just just suck up to him as much as possible. So that's why the likes of Joe Rogan, who's the biggest podcast in the world, no matter what you think of him, wasn't nominated, and Amy
Yeah.
Poehler won. So
Yeah, I mean, it seems like basically in that category, it was just who are the more famous actors who are doing podcasts, just
mm.
so they could invite them to the show. And then they threw an NPR in there for no reason, I guess to make it seem legitimate or something. That was just an absurd category. And then there's that other relatively new absurd category of the Cinematic and Box Office Achievement Award, which
Mm.
nobody knows what the criteria is or what the hell that award is. And it basically seems like it's just an award so they can give almost like a runner up to a movie that people like, but they didn't want to give Best Picture to. And unfortunately, this year it was Sinners. And I say
Mm.
unfortunately because I think that's a real disservice to Sinners to give it that just lame, useless award, and Sinners should, maybe be the best picture. So yeah, those two awards are just a disaster.
Yeah, one other gripe I had is that Ludwig Göransson won for best score for Sinners, and there was the one category that it decided to cut from the broadcast,
Mm.
which just sucks because music is so important in filmmaking.
Yeah, I noticed that because as I was looking afterwards at all the winners and I saw that, I was like, oh, yeah, we didn't see that actually. I hadn't realized at the time that they had cut it. But yeah, that's a shame. And Ludwig Göransson absolutely deserves that award. He's, one of the best composers in film working today.
Yeah, and Hans Zimmer, which is Ludwig Göransson is one of Hans Zimmer's proteges, and he had a lot to say about that too in a couple of tweets. So that was yeah, so more negative than positive overall, but
Yeah. The show was all right though. Nikki Glazer for her second it was her second time doing it and she was pretty good. I thought, not amazing, but not definitely I'd say above average
mhm.
compared to some of the Golden Globe hosts they've had in the past.
Yeah, it's just it's always going to be held to the standard of Ricky Gervais, who hosted 5 times, and he always just knocked it out of the park because he just takes the piss out of everybody, all
Mm.
the celebrities in the audience. So that's always nice to see. But anyway, yep, that's our Golden Globes review. So yeah, we're gonna talk about my 10 favorite movies,
Yes.
and I think I've shown my hand in past episodes about which ones are going to be higher up, and but let's just get into it.
Yeah, so obviously some of these are going to be familiar in both our lists, and as we said, I'll be doing my list 2 weeks from now. But let's start counting down, and you actually ranked them, which means I'm going to have to do the same 2 weeks from now. So, what is your 10th favorite movie of all time? And again, we should make the distinction. These aren't the movies we think are absolutely the best movies of all time. These are our favorites, and
Yes.
some of them guilty pleasure. Not really though. I think all of these are ones we just actually love and just really enjoy. And honestly, that's what movie making is all about, is just, entertainment and things that you should enjoy. So what's your number 10, Zach?
Yeah, this list is completely subjective, and that should be evident right off the bat because my number 10 is The Room, which is one of the worst movies ever made, but also one of the most entertaining. It came out in 2003. Uh, Tommy Wiseau, the legend, the legend himself, starred, directed, edited, wrote everything. The savant, the auteur. Also stars his best friend Greg Sestero, and the making of the movie is almost as legendary as the movie itself, if not more. Actually, he's Wiseau spent $6 million plus on a movie that should have cost maybe 3 grand.
Yeah, especially in the early 2000s. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't even take inflation into account. But man, it's just full of gratuitous, overly long sex scenes, terrible dialogue, terrible dubbing, but just so endlessly quotable and one of the greatest cult classics of all time. Like, you're tearing me apart, Lisa. So many others, and it's become such a classic that every time it basically goes on the road on tour, and you can only catch it in theaters once every couple years, at least if you're not in LA, where Wiseau still resides. But it's become a thing where people play football in the aisles during screenings. People throw spoons because there's just random pictures in the movie of spoons. There's like no art direction. It's like, let's go to Pier 1, just grab all the photos with the stocks, put them there. So uh man, it's really hard to explain this movie if you haven't seen it, or if you at least haven't seen The Disaster Artist, the James Franco movie where he plays Wiseau, and it covers the making of this movie. But man, and you can't even get it on streaming, so it's great marketing because it's just all underground. You have to go actually buy the physical DVD, and a lot of people don't even have DVD players anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's this little and everybody who's in the film industry or goes to film school just uh kind of talks about this movie. If you don't at least appreciate the cult the cultishness of it, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, so you mentioned the disaster artist. I can't remember what were your thoughts on that movie? Did you enjoy it? Did you think it kind of captured the essence of the phenomenon that is the room?
I did love it, although I think James Franco was not a good choice to play Wizzo, even though I know it was his project, Franco's project. I just thought he was kind of. I mean, Tommy Wiseau is cartoonish, but I
Mhm.
think Franco just kind of did a bad parody of Wiseau instead of trying to get into his skin, so to
Right.
speak. But yeah, other than that,
It seems like that'd be tough to do.
yeah. Although there are rumors that he's a vampire. So
Okay.
but yeah, I love the Disaster Artist for what it was, and that it brought new audiences to the room. So it's kind
Yeah.
of like a symbiotic relationship. One feeds off the other. So yeah, I did really enjoy it though.
Yeah, I do remember during the whole sort of the press tour for the disaster artist and leading up to award ceremonies and stuff that it did seem like James Franco was taking a lot of the oxygen from Tommy Wiseau, but then again, the disaster artist was his movie, and so you can kind of understand it. But I do remember some of the discussion around that of, oh, it's almost like he's kind of sidelining and making fun of Tommy Wiseau. Um, but yeah, I enjoyed the disaster artist as well, just to kind of give you a little peek behind the behind the scenes of what went into this absolutely absurd and ridiculous movie. But as you say, yeah, just fully, it is the definition of the so bad it's good movie, just because it is very entertaining. All right, number nine, what do you got?
I have another comedy, although The Room wasn't billed as a comedy.
No.
But this one is, and it's Team America World Police, and we discussed this one in our best movies about politics.
Mm,
Um, I forget if we were on YouTube or just Spotify. I think we were just Spotify at that point.
I think so, yeah. Yeah, we're just
But
doing audio pod. Yeah.
yeah, it's a marionette comedy with written and directed by Trey Parker with Matt Stone, the guys who did South Park and two of my favorite writer or creators in Hollywood history. And it's just a send up of American foreign policy, and it actually became extremely relevant over these past 2 weeks, given what the American government and military has done and is
Yeah.
continuing to do. So it's just yeah, it just sends up basically the neoconservative George W. Bush foreign policy of America just being the world police and going
Yeah.
into every Middle Eastern country, toppling it and thinking that liberal democracy is just going to sprout out of the ground, and it's just it parodies American militarism, jingoism, and celebrity culture, and how just out of touch all the actors are that think they know or think that people want every bit of their political opinions, even though they don't know shit most of the time. They just
Right.
spout platitudes,
Yeah.
which is what they do. So yeah, I mean, again, that's what I love about the South Park guys, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, is that they're just such equal opportunity offenders. Nobody's safe, and they just hit the nail on the head every time.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the other thing they're skewering in this, which is, as you say, is sort of celebrity culture and absolutely self-important to actors and Hollywood in general. I mean, it was really kind of a takedown of the whole Hollywood machine as well. One of the one of the big sort of antagonists is the Actors Guild, which we don't need to give the full name right now, but yeah, this movie, as you say, is just a takedown of all sorts of policies and governments and people, and yeah, it's a fun choice for sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a send up of the Screen Actors Guild, but they
Mhm.
call it in the movie the Film Actors Guild. Screen Actors Guild
Yes.
is known as SAG, and you do the math.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right. Number eight. What is your
Number
eighth
eight,
favorite movie?
Number eight, I have Braveheart. And yes, I know it's incredibly historically inaccurate. They didn't use geode or wear kilts back in William Wallace's day. But I mean, for better or worse, if you think of William Wallace, if you're not a Scottish historian, you're gonna think of Braveheart, and also has just great performances by Sophie Marceau, Patrick McCoogan, Catherine McCormick, and James Cosmo, who somehow was playing a dad back then and has just gotten bigger but not older over the past like 30 years or so. It's wild.
Yeah.
But it covers the Scottish Revolution against Britain. It's just such a great underdog story. I love a great historical epic, and this is one of the primary modern ones that had like a big budget, realistic violence, great score by my main man James Horner, and just it's one of those where every time it's on, even if it's just on in the background on TV, I have to just leave it on and watch it till the end because it's just so goosebump inducing with all the quotes like "You might take our lives, but you never take our freedom," like just classic battlefield speeches. The very end, I mean, this is a 31-year-old movie at this point, so I think I can spoil it, where he's getting tortured to death, and his last words are "freedom." With the swelling score by James Horner, it just man, it just gets me every time.
Yeah. Yeah, this is as you say, historical accuracy be damned. This
Mm,
is a really just a great historical epic in terms of just the scope of this movie. The battle scenes were fantastic. The and one of the things it does get right actually, but history and that I found really interesting about this movie is the kind of competing interests of all the different Scottish lords
mm,
and how some of them are more tempted to be swayed towards the English side because they think they're going to get a little something, or they're kind of waiting to see which way the wind blows and try to be on the winning side. And so they're not united at all. And they're all kind of these bickering clans and stuff when really they need a uniter to push back against English aggression. That stuff is really well done in this and is historically accurate. So there's just a lot of fun things in this movie. And yeah, that's a very good choice.
mm.
All right. Number seven now.
Number seven, taking a turn for the darker for sure. Um, I tried to put movies of different genres, but just ones where like my main uh uh shit.
Your sort of criteria or no? I mean,
Yes, thank you. Thank you. God
okay.
damn it. Okay, yes. My main
Yeah.
criteria was just like, okay, if this movie's on, I'm sitting down and watching the rest of it.
Right,
And
right.
so because there's a phrase in screenwriting, I should have said this at the top. It's called kill your darlings
Mm,
when you're tempted to overwrite in a script. Um, you could have some great scene or some great lines that just really pop off the page, but if they don't serve the story and you have to keep this concise because if it's over 120 pages, it's probably going to get thrown in the trash. So yeah, you have to kill the darlings and keep it concise. And this is definitely, I know for you and I, when we get to yours in 2 weeks, this is the hardest list we've ever had to come up with.
it's
So
very hard. Yeah.
that being said, number seven for me is Chinatown. And I know we discussed this in our best films of the 70s. And, every time we do a Roman Polanski movie, yes, he's a convicted child rapist and you got to separate the art from the artist and blah, blah, blah. Yes, it's
Yeah.
terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But this, for my money, is the greatest script ever written. I didn't come to it until later in life, probably because I just couldn't wrap my head around all the twists and turns in the plot.
Mhm.
But it's such a great neo noir. 1974, like I said, Roman Polanski film, written by Robert Towne, another legend in the industry.
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway, with John Huston playing one of the most evil villains in film history. A phenomenal score, like all driven by sax, like the really sexy, sleazy saxophone, has all the tropes of noir with everything from the Venetian blinds to the hard-boiled cop and everybody being so cynical and so it takes place in L.A. in the 30s. It just deals with a water crisis, which doesn't seem like it's that interesting. But when you're living in the desert, it's pretty fucking important.
Yeah.
Whoever owns the water owns L.A. So that's basically the plot of it, and just again, so many twists and turns. You never, if you're watching it for the first time, you never know what's going to come next, and just yeah, just an amazingly well made film.
And yeah, just like a couple of your films here, another one that's maybe becoming more relevant as time goes on. I mean, the Sun
Mm.
Belt, the states down there are certainly going to have water issues over the next couple of decades. And yeah, as you say, who controls the water is very important. And so there's obviously a whole bunch of corruption, and Jack Nicholson's character has got to get under the whole the whole plot. It's got so many good lines, so many good moments and twists and turns. And that reminds me, I was going to ask you for each of them.
Oh.
And I forgot to on the first three, but let's start with this one then. What is your favorite moment from Chinatown?
Um, that's a good question. I think it has to be when,
It can be a scene or a line or anything. Just
yeah, because I'm trying not to do the obvious one. Just forget it, Jake. It's Chinatown because that's the most iconic quote, but I don't think it's the best part. Okay, I think it's when Jack goes to the house of the guy that was played by Burt Young, the wife abuser, and Burt Young kind of helps him out, squirrels him away so Jack can make his getaway from John Huston's people.
Mhm.
And I think that's my favorite moment, just because everything means something in this script. There's no wasted space because Jack was doing a case for Burt Young where he found out that his wife was cheating on him, and it's so much show don't
Right.
tell because the wife answers the door, she has a black eye, and we all know why. And so just how everything ties into everything and towards the climax is yeah, just really impressive.
Yeah, and it also should tells you a little bit about Jack's character too, right? That he, at least still at that time, he's able to distance himself from the cases that he's involved in some way, but he's as the movie goes on, he's becoming more and more involved, and he's becoming he's less standoffish emotionally from what's going on. And so yeah, that's a great scene to point out. All right. Number six.
All right, switching back to comedy here with Monty
Yeah.
Python and the Holy Grail. Uh, I think we discussed this as well in our '70s podcast, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Yeah, I don't think we ever miss a chance to talk about Monty Python when we can. What I mean, what can you say? It's the greatest comedy troupe of all time. They set the stage for things like uh, sketch comedy like SNL and all the others, Mad TV. Um, what's the famous Canadian sketch
Well,
show?
there's been a bunch. There's the Royal Canadian Air Force. There's now this hour is 22 minutes. There's a whole bunch. You're talking SCTV?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. We've got a lot of comedy in Canada.
So yeah, 1975, and it's just a send up of the Arthurian legend. Stars all six of the Pythons, and it's such a loose plot that it doesn't really even make a cohesive narrative at all. It's just kind of a series of skits that ends up just with uh just random modern cops coming in and just stopping the movie at the
Yeah,
end
most
because
absurd ending of all time.
because these knights have just been running around killing people the entire time, so they're under arrest. And yeah, while as we've discussed in the past, especially in our Easter special, Life of Brian is a better made film by all accounts because it does have a narrative, but this one is just so full of belly laughs. And I saw this for its 40th anniversary last year, and in the theater, and just seeing how there were everyone from like 70-year-olds to 8-year-olds in the theater just really was a heartwarming experience. Just it's so timeless, and Monty Python is never gonna die.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that ending too. I mean, it in part that's because they actually legitimately were running out of money and didn't really have the money and didn't know how to end it. So they're just like, all right, screw it. Let's just have cops come into this medieval thing and shut down the production. Just so absurd and the kind of thing that only Monty Python could have thought of, especially at that time, right? When
Mm.
this was just so groundbreaking, and this was their first feature length movie. Yeah, we've talked about this before. This movie is so funny. This one is so hard to choose from. But do you got a favorite moment in this one?
Again, yeah, it's
So many good
so
moments.
hard. But I think I first saw this when I was maybe 9 or 10. My best friend introduced it to me, and we're still best friends to this day. So it's like one of our bonding things. Like, oh yeah, I remember the first time we saw Monty Python and the Holy
Nice.
Grail, and so I'm just gonna go with the fight between Arthur and the Black Knight.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
just because I mean, especially to like a 9 or 10-year-old kid, there's more like sophisticated things in like the Dennis thing where he's slopping the filth around and talking about autonomous collectives and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just the it's just a flesh wound. I mean,
Yeah.
still so quotable today. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's got to be the Black Knight fight.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm gonna have to go and watch that scene again after this. All right. Well, that's the first half of your list. So I believe that takes us to a drink break.
Yes.
So what are we doing
And
today then?
so since it's my favorite movies, we're doing my favorite drink. And man, this has been a lot of fun so far. And since this is so reminiscent of the conversations we would have at the Holiday Inn rooftop bar in Burbank, I decided to go with my go-to and to this day. So it's a double vodka soda with lime, and it saves you an extra trip to the bar each time. So
Exactly.
I mean, as the Brits would say, it is what it says on the tin. It's a double vodka. You put some soda water in it, and you just garnish it with a lime. I like to squeeze the lime in to get a little bit of the flavor before I put the garnish on. So I'm just gonna slice my lime here on the side, get a little bit of the juice in there.
Yeah, I pre-sliced some limes like a real bartender. Let me see
Soda.
here.
Even add the little black cocktail straw.
Oh, very nice.
And typically, I prefer to drink these out of the cocktail straws because I just don't like the feeling of ice hitting my lips. But it just looks so ridiculously effeminate for a guy to drink out of a straw on camera. So,
Yeah, I tend not to like drinking them out of the straw, even if they are the small straws, just because uh it's so easy to just go and drink way too much if you're drinking through a straw. So
yeah, also true.
there we go. Beautiful.
Cheers.
I went with the tall glass. You went with the short tumbler. Yeah,
Ah, that brings back memories.
it really does. Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
and then
that
lack
was always
thereof, of
my
course.
standard go-to as well. Any trip to Vegas, because
Mm,
for whatever reason that's the drink I could drink all night and the next day still be all right for the most part.
yeah.
All righty.
Yeah,
So we're now into
there
your
is
top
some
five.
water in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Number five.
So my fifth, and I'm cheating a little bit here by combining two movies into one, but technically it is one film, and it is called The Godfather Epic. If I had to choose between the two, it would be just The Godfather, the first one. But The Godfather Epic is was a HBO exclusive cut that came out in 2016, and it's The Godfather 1 and 2, but it's told chronologically. So I'm assuming most people here have seen both of them. And so it starts out with young Vito in Sicily, where his brother gets shot and his mom dies, and he has to immigrate to America. And it ends at the end of Godfather 2 with Michael just sitting there alone, looking very solemn and depressed about the life he's led. But in between, it keeps it just it tells Vito up until he gets to America, and then the birth of his three sons, Sonny, Fredo, and Michael, and then Michael's rise to power, his fall, Fredo's death, and it just tells it all in sequence, which I thought was very impressive. It is about a 6.5 hour movie because it also includes some deleted scenes from the first two, so it is just a massive undertaking. But if you're a huge fan of the Godfather saga and you've seen each one of those movies 50 times and you know the story back and forth, it's really fascinating to sit down, maybe not in one sitting, but if you want to do it over the course of a weekend and just take it all in, if you have nothing else to do, it's really an interesting, fun watch. And if this came out in theaters and they gave you like two intermissions, I wouldn't mind
Mm.
spending a Saturday just sitting there watching this just classic masterpiece of cinema. And I think, yeah, again, 70s. We discussed this. I didn't realize that I had three 70s movies lined up in order, but yeah, these are my top 10 in order. So that's just kind of how it shook out. And Robert De Niro was in that cut because of Godfather 2, but Godfather 1, of course, Marlon Brando, Al Pacino, Francis Ford Coppola's magnum opus, and just what can you say? It's The Godfather. For my money, The Godfather Part One is the greatest film ever made.
Yeah, I think I'd have to really think about it, but I'm probably with you on that one. And actually, The Godfather spoiler was one that I was going to have on my list, but then when you had it on your list, I took it off just so I could talk about, a different movie. But I've never actually seen this version of The Godfather and the chronological one. It sounds very interesting. I definitely would love to see it. And like you, I mean, I haven't seen The Godfather in the theater of any of the Godfathers, and I would love to do that at some point. I'm really hoping at some point they'll bring it to maybe the TIFF theater near me. But in Godfather Part Two, especially, one of the things that makes it so good is how it goes back and forth, and they're kind of dealing with similar themes in the
Hmm.
past and in the present. So do you lose that with the chronological
A little bit,
framing, or
yeah. But like I said, yeah, this shouldn't be like your first intro into
right?
it. But
Okay, yeah,
if you've seen both of them a bunch of times and you've already absorbed all that, then yeah, it's a worthy alternative. But
okay,
definitely, if you're a newcomer to the series, definitely not.
okay, yeah. All right, same question then. What's your favorite moment from The Godfather?
Okay,
Again,
so
tough to choose.
I will stick to the first one, but man, again, uh, I tried not to think about this at length beforehand because I wanted to be kind of organic, but I noticed that I'm hesitating, and this makes for bad broadcasting. So, uh, I think it's actually I think it's the opening scene. To be quite honest, I
Yeah,
mean, just I believe in America, and the opening scene's a good 8 minutes or so. So it's not a just a quick get in get out before we cut to Connie's wedding,
yeah,
and just the slow the almost imperceptible zoom or opposite
yeah, yeah. The pull back on the
pull
yeah,
back, yes, yeah, from the funeral, the Undertaker, all the way to the back of Vito's head, and just the subtle, just hand wave and bring me a drink without saying bring me a drink,
yeah.
and it tells you almost everything you need to know about Vito before he even says a word. So
Mm.
I also think not just the best movie ever made, the best opening scene ever made too.
Quite possibly, yeah. And I would probably extend it a little bit. I mean, it's hard to call it a scene because it's well, no, that is a scene, but the whole wedding opening
Mm,
is just an amazing piece of filmmaking. As you said, you learn so much about Vito in that scene. You learn so much about everything through that wedding thing, but it's
Hmm.
done so sort of organically, and the way the conversations happen and the
Yeah, all the
songs and
family,
everything,
all
it's just so perfect. And then, Michael talking to Kay and Luca Brasi and all that stuff. It's just so much information that you're getting while being entertained at this expensive Italian wedding. It's just a spectacular opening to the
you
movie.
come to me on the day of my daughter's wedding and ask me to do murder. Don't even think to call me Godfather. But yeah, the entire familial relationship is all done like it's the ultimate show don't tell. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, we're on to number four, and I think with this one you've got another special edition.
yeah. And this is more because okay, it's Kingdom of Heaven from 2005 by Ridley Scott, written by the Oscar-winning William Monahan, which he won the Oscar for The Departed,
Mhm.
and it's all about the Crusades and specifically the what's it the third one? Yeah, the Third Crusade,
I,
where
I think I think it's just before the Third Crusade. Like think the Third Crusade.
leading to the Third Crusade, because
Yeah,
yeah, at the very end, Richard the Lionheart shows up and he's on his
yeah,
way to Jerusalem. Right, right,
yeah,
right,
yeah. It's basically it's the siege of Jerusalem, where the Christians lose it after having taken it 100 years earlier.
right, right.
Spoiler
So,
alert for something that happened like 800 years ago, but
but so you mentioned yeah, a different cut, and I specifically chose the director's cut just because I've seen several theatrical releases and director's cuts of various different films, and there's usually not that much of a difference. But these two are two completely different films. The theatrical release really doesn't make a lot of sense. There are so many subplots where there's like one scene and then you never see this character again, or there's something that shows up a scene in his there's a scene that pops up and then that conflict is never resolved by the end. So and Ridley Scott actually disowned the theatrical cut, which is very rare.
oh, did he?
So
Wow. Okay.
so if you do see this movie, definitely get the director's cut. I know both of them are on Prime. Make sure you get the longer one. The longer one's over 3 hours, but this is a historical epic, and they should be over 3 hours.
Oh, damn. Yeah, it wasn't on Prime for me in Canada for
Oh,
some
oh,
reason.
okay.
I tried to find the director's cut, and I've never seen it, so I can only go by the theatrical release.
Mm. So it's so much richer, the director's cut. So much more character development. The 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 scenes are you get to sit with the characters more and really uh, live in their world instead of just I don't know who cut this up for the theatrical cut, but it was just like okay, we have to have it under this amount of time, and anything that isn't absolutely necessary to the very end, they get rid of it.
Yeah,
But
because I think the theatrical cut itself is already like 2 hours and 25 minutes or something. So you can see a studio getting all nervous, right? Oh, people are gonna watch this.
So yeah, anyway, it has Orlando Bloom, Ava Green, Jeremy Irons, love him, David
Yeah.
Thewlis, love him, Brendan Gleeson, Liam Neeson as the father, right? And you know he dies very early on in the film, but he sets the tone in a way like he's basically the moral compass of the film, and he's only in it for about 35-40 minutes of the director's cut. I haven't even seen the theatrical cut in so long that I don't know what was in there anymore.
Okay, okay.
But I just knew that like the thing that the scene or the sorry the storyline with Ava Green's child getting leprosy is like completely ignored in the first one.
Her
And
child.
yeah, not
Yeah,
yeah,
that's not in the theatrical cut at all.
yeah, so Edward Norton puts in a fantastic performance as King Baldwin of Jerusalem, and
Yes.
he is beneath a mask the entire time, which is
Baldwin the
so
fifth,
and
I think. Yeah.
yeah, and he's so that's so Edward Norton though, because you never see his face, and Oh, again, the his funeral's cut from the theatrical version too. So yeah, just so
Yeah.
much is missing. Uh, anyway, kind of droning on here, but just phenomenal performances all around. The only thing that the only drawback for me is actually the lead in Orlando Bloom, who kind of sucks charisma out of a room almost anytime he's on screen because he's so the straight man in everything he plays.
Yeah.
But he was just so on a roll in the early 2000s that
He
they're just
shows
like,
up in a bunch of the movies in both of our lists, actually.
yeah, it's just like I'm sure. What was this? This is Fox, right? Yeah, this is 20th Century Fox. Like, oh yeah, we're just gonna put him in everything. But yeah, he does play his role well though because he's more like an audience conduit for all these other fantastic characters that are swirling around him, and
Mm.
he's just so steadfast in his goal just to be a good man and a good knight. But again, Ridley Scott, he's gone downhill over these past few years, and it's unfortunate because he is one of the best directors of all time, and he's kind of standing his legacy. But there are so many great battle scenes. Again,
Yeah.
I love historical epics. We both do, and yeah, from just following catapults to the sieges and even the little skirmishes at the beginning are all so well shot, so violent, so well done.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is one, as I said, I've only ever seen the theatrical cut, and I've always really enjoyed this movie. But you're right, there are a few moments where it's not explained very well. So I'm glad to hear that Ridley Scott had more in mind. In particular, some of the decisions taken by Queen Sabella, Ava Green's character, where she sort of goes from one to the other really quickly when she without spoiling too much, when she crowns somebody to replace her brother. um but uh but yeah, this is a great movie, and among the other things, you mentioned the battle scenes and all the great performances. I really love the portrayal of Saladin, uh
Yes, 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 yes.
the Islamic Sultan at the well, what was his title at the time? And in any case, in the movie, I think they called him a king. I don't think he would have been called a king in in those times, but his performance, like he just seems like just such an incredible dude, and he was just this titan of history that has otherwise kind of gone ignored by Western, well, certainly in Western media, but also kind of in Western history books. So that was one thing I loved, that he was such an important and well drawn character in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's such a great illustration of how we, the Western Christians and the Muslims have been at each other's throats for over 1,000 years, and as we again very relevant today because nothing has changed,
Yeah, exactly.
unfortunately.
Yeah. All right, we're into your top three now. Exciting.
My favorite moment though. um, so
Oh yes, right. Your favorite moment.
initially I was
All right.
gonna go with Orlando Bloom's really like rousing speech about how he knights everybody in Jerusalem at
Mm.
once and does making a man just making a man a knight make him a better fighter, and he says yes. So okay, that but
Which is apparently, I mean, not necessarily the speech and whatever, but apparently that is historically accurate. That in the siege of Jerusalem, Balian did knight a whole bunch of people because there were only like four knights left in the whole city.
but my favorite part does involve Saladin, and it is when he's negotiating with Balian, Orlando Bloom's character, and he's just so much more morally upstanding than the Christian leaders. And even though Orlando Bloom and he are enemies, they're gonna fight to the bitter end. There's this mutual respect between the two, and uh, he says the Christians tore down and killed every Muslim in uh in Jerusalem when they fought 100 years ago. He's like, I am not those men. I am Salahadin.
Yeah.
Salahuddin. That gives me goosebumps every time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a fantastic moment. That's a very good choice. All
Okay,
right, so
so
now we're into your top three, right? So
number
I will keep
three.
remembering this. And I was the one who suggested we should talk about our favorite moments, and then I forgot it for the first three. But anyway,
It's only one. What are you halfway through vodka soda? No. Okay. So three is the Mask of Zorro, and that is a 1998 movie. Uh, Again, just one of my childhood favorites. That when I got the VHS, again dating myself, I just wore that shit out when it came out on video. I saw it in theaters. Again, with my best friend, we always made a habit when I would visit my dad in California to go to the movies at least 4 or 5 times every summer.
mm,
And this is one of those, just a great adventure movie,
yeah.
written by two my besides Trey Parker and Matt Stone, my favorite writing duo in Hollywood history, which is Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio, and directed by Martin Campbell. It has Antonio Banderas, Anthony Hopkins, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Stuart Wilson, and none of which are from California or Mexico, as we discussed in our Cinco de Mayo special earlier this year. And yeah, we I think I've played my hand a lot throughout the course of our history by my effusive love of of the movies that I really do love. And is it like a all time great? No, but it's a great, just again fun, really fun movie with James Horner, again my favorite composer. No disrespect to no disrespect to John Williams or Hans Zimmer, but uh, just so many good scenes, so many good quotes. Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones are like at their prime sexiness.
Yeah.
Their on-screen chemistry is electric. Anthony Hopkins is always amazing, and he was still in his prime in 1998. And yes, yeah, I get it. It's a white guy from Wales.
He's ridiculously cast.
I know,
Yeah,
but
but he still does a fantastic job. Yeah.
yeah, as Don Diego de la Vega, and
Yeah.
just you know, Antonio Banderas is his protege. It's an older version of Don Diego de la Vega. Zorro's always been my favorite superhero, which is a very weird and unorthodox take, especially in today's day and age with
I love
nothing but superheroes coming for you left and right.
it. Yeah.
But I've always said there'd be no Batman without Zorro. When you have
Hmm.
a very wealthy aristocrat who decides to engage in vigilante justice against a, a, a in favor, I mean, to help a population that's just being totally ignored and abused by the hierarchy.
Yeah, and definitely, obviously, echoes of the Robin Hood, uh, myth as well in all that. This movie is one of these ones. I'm glad you said it's just a great adventure story because it absolutely is, and it's the kind of movie that Hollywood isn't making anymore. I mean,
Hmm.
not to say that they aren't making adventure movies; they are, but they've lost something. And I can't quite put my finger on it. But for instance, Apple TV Plus just the other day came out with a new movie with who's in it. Anyway, it's called The Fountain of Youth, and it just it's kind of a bit of an adventure thing, sort of a National Treasure Indiana Jones type thing,
Mm.
but it just doesn't have the same. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's that kind of adventure story that Hollywood just doesn't do very well anymore. And I'm not quite sure why, but The Mask of Zorro is a perfect example of one that they did well. And it's got, just these big, bold themes and fun action and big set pieces. And yeah, great acting and great chemistry. And just the way it's shot and filmed, just these kind of bright scenes with a lot of everything's really lit very well, and it just there's just I don't know, Hollywood has lost something in its adventure movies over the last little while, but this is a great choice of sort of when they were still doing them very well.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point that I didn't really think about, but you are totally right. I think today they're either trying to get too deep or too silly with their adventure movies, like if because like
Yeah.
if you, but you know, Mask of Zorro isn't necessarily profound in its messaging, but it's has timeless themes that are just about family and vengeance and found family and redemption and all kinds of just very like one word themes that are all just you can insert into anything. And I don't know, it's hard to put your finger on it, but you're absolutely right that they just don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah, so this Fountain of Youth one, not to diverge too much, but it's a Guy Ritchie movie.
Mm.
Um and it's got John Krasinski and Natalie Portman and Aisa Gonzalez. So, great actors and stuff. But I think you're right in some ways they're trying to get too cute. I mean, it's almost the Marvelification of a lot of movies where any chance they can get to try to get a joke in there, as opposed to letting the humor just sort of flow naturally from the script, which is what it does in a lot of those movies that like Mask of Zorro, when it's kind of the character, when Don De La Vega, on guard, and he holds up a spoon, right?
Yes,
And
yes, yes.
stuff like that, which is because he's trying to teach him how to be a gentleman rather than just moments like that are really funny, but it doesn't rely on just a stupid little quip from the
Yes.
character, right? And yeah, I think that's part of the reason why they can't seem to nail these kind of movies anymore. It's
And moments like
unfortunate.
that still manage to advance the plot and the characters. It's not just
Absolutely.
as you said, it's not just a fucking quip.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very important part of the film, and it also happens to be hilarious. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Favorite
I'm gonna
moment?
go ahead and preempt. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and preempt your prediction.
I didn't forget this time.
um, this one didn't take me long to think of because it's one of my favorite scenes of all time, and it's the duel between Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones,
Oh
um,
yeah. Yeah.
where they're having a sword fight. It's like it's violent but also playful in a
Yeah.
weird way. It's extremely sexy, and the chemistry, like I said, the chemistry with those two is just blow your socks off.
Yeah. It's the peak
But
of flirting during a sword fight somehow.
yeah, and then again, silly in the way that he's able to just swashbuckle his sword around her dress, and he gets every cut just right so that the dress falls off, and
Yeah.
she tries to act all modest, and then they have this like deeply passionate kiss, and then he just fucks off because right before the guards come,
Yeah.
it's like it's like total foreplay. You can tell that they're gonna end up together at the end by that point, but it's just so sexually charged, but also funny and charming and well acted, well choreographed, and she's it shows that Elena, Catherine Zeta-Jones' character, is a total badass who can hold her own against one of the best sword fighters in California.
Yeah.
So just yeah, it has so much in that scene.
Yeah.
Every scene is just so rich.
Yeah. Yeah. Good moment for sure. All right. Number two. I think we
All
got some
right.
more swashbuckling coming up here.
Yeah, and yeah. So Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl. Came out in 2003, also written by Ted Elliott and Terry Rossio. They were on a tear. I mean, those guys also wrote Aladdin and Shrek, and they're the highest grossing screenwriters together, obviously, but just behind George Lucas, who shouldn't really count. But we'll throw that aside. I'm not going to throw shade into
And
old
again,
George.
another great adventure movie.
Exactly. Yeah, just so much fun. Again, it was a summer movie, and I used to visit my dad for all of summer vacation in uh so for like 6 weeks every year. And again, my best friend lived there. Go to the movies, see everything that was out, and just I just remember when Captain Jack Sparrow, played by Johnny Depp, of course, when he flips the compass down at the very end and the credits roll with with Hans Zimmer's I got goosebumps at that time. Walked out of the theater. It was one of the best feelings I've ever had walking out of the theater. I just felt so jubilant and like, man, that was just a fun movie. And
Yeah.
again, it was 2.5 hours long, which is kind of weird for a Disney movie fare. But again, no wasted scenes. Orlando Bloom's in this one too, but again, he plays the straight man. And Keira Knightley, Jeffrey Rush was amazing as the just quintessential pirate R guy. And even the supernatural stuff was believable in a weird way because all these pirates led by Jeffrey Rush were Captain Barbosa are cursed by taking Cortez's Aztec gold, and they're cursed until it all gets returned, and so many quotables. Uh, but yeah, so the sequels all got progressively worse, and and it was mostly all the same team returning, same writer, director, everything, but it's just so hard to recapture the magic of this kind of movie. And so I've never really revisited any of the sequels just because it ruins it for me. And actually the same with Mask of Zorro, because they did a second one and
Yeah,
it,
that's right.
it was awful. So sometimes you just gotta leave well enough alone, but that's movie studios for you. They never do. They
Yeah,
used to.
money talks.
Yeah, they used to, but they never do. And yeah, just man, just what a rollicking swashbuckler this was.
This is one of the ones that I've managed to go back and rewatch this week, even though I've seen it a bunch of times as well. And you describe it perfectly. It is just so much fun, and everything from it's kind of almost taken for granted now. But Johnny Depp, obviously the writers, but then Johnny Depp also just inhabiting and creating one of the most iconic characters in film history, undoubtedly. Using famously kind of a template of Keith Richards, which is just so weird for a pirate movie, but it just works and it's incredible. And then, as you say, the incredible theme music that runs throughout, um, and just like everything, all the performances. Jonathan Pryce
Oh
is
yeah, yeah,
fantastic in
yeah.
this. Like all these guys, I'd forgotten almost until I rewatched it again that Zoe Saldana is in this
Hmm.
as well. And interestingly, I recently heard that I guess after the latest Avatar movie, Zoe Saldana is now the highest grossing actor of all time.
Hmm.
I don't think they included this movie because I think usually when they add those up, it's, you have to be in a starring role or something.
Mm.
But man, her and her agent have picked some she's been in some amazing franchises. Just these high grossing franchises, pretty incredible. The Star Trek ones, the Marvel, the Avatar. Like, man, she's done pretty well in terms of choosing winners.
Yep.
Um, and a few pretty bad losers as well. Um, enough said about that god awful Oscar nominated movie last year. All right. Anyway, back to Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, just again starring Orlando Bloom as well, and actually Keira Knightley. This was I believe came out the same year that Love Actually did, which means that, because people have mentioned a number of times in reference to Love Actually, she was only 17 when she made this movie, which is pretty crazy and hard to believe. Um, Obviously acting kind of above her age and the screen and Hollywood treating her as if she was a bit older. But
Well, not if you're in the 19th century, I guess.
I suppose, yeah, you're right. 19th century. Anything goes. They're the pirates. But yeah, just so much fun in this movie, and the kind of even like all the different side characters that they managed. You said it is 2.5 hours long, but they managed to squeeze in like the two kind of bumbling pirate guys,
Yep.
but then there's also the two bumbling British soldier guys as
Yep.
well. Like
Yep.
they
Yep.
managed to get all these little side characters in. It's just so well constructed and just so perfectly paced, and yeah, just a lot of fun. What is your so many great moments? What is your favorite moment
Mhm.
in this movie?
I already said my favorite, which is the very last shot where he closes the compass. Drink up,
Oh,
me hearties,
okay,
yo
okay.
ho. But just to double dip if I could.
Yeah.
It's the scene on on the sequence on the beach with when Johnny Depp and Keira Knightley are stranded, and specifically it's why's the rum gone?
I love that line. And she talks about, yeah, we're gonna signal a thing. But where's the rope gone?
And then she's like, "Yeah, it's a vile drink that turns even gentlemen's absolute scoundrels." And she's like walking away, and he like looks like he's gonna like throttle her from behind. And then she turns around, and he's like, "Ugh." And then the smoke signal goes up. He's like, "There'll be no living with her after this." Yeah, just so many fantastic lines.
Yeah, one of my favorites, and for some reason, a line that just sticks in my head all the time is related to Johnny Depp getting stranded on that island. But it's when his whatever the sailor, I can't remember his name right now, is telling the story of how he got off the island
Oh
to
yeah, yeah.
Orlando Bloom's character. And he's like, yeah, he went and waded out into the ocean and all manner of sea creatures, and he wrote two sea turtles around. And he's like, sea turtles, really? I see turtles. For some reason, I've just always loved that line and just the way he says it. I see turtles. Just hilarious stuff. All right, so that takes us to, and we know you've waxed poetic about this movie before. Your number one favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, no surprises here to anybody who's watched this for a significant amount of time, but it's The Lion King, the original 1994, obviously. And since we
Yeah.
covered this in depth just a couple of weeks ago for our Disney animated
Where it did come number
feature
one
list,
in terms of
yes, where
our,
it did come number one.
yeah.
Um, I'm trying to think of other things I could say, but I mean, just phenomenal voice cast. Jeremy Irons makes his second appearance on my top 10 list from
Yeah.
Kingdom of Heaven, and in this, uh, love that guy, love his voice, and
Yeah.
uh, James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons in the same scene is just like voice over overload. And yeah, got Elton John, Hans Zimmer, Tim Rice all working together in the music department. Greatest score, in my opinion, of all time. Whoopi Goldberg, Cheech Marin, Rowan Atkinson. Shit, man. Uh, yeah, best Disney animated feature of all time, as we've already discussed. Uh, Huge box office, almost $1 billion. But I'm trying to keep it a little more personal. Okay, I still remember going to the Edwards Cinema in Valencia, California, when my mom and dad were still together. When I was 5 or 6 or something like that. Um, and it's really my first memory of like walking out of a theater and being like, "Wow, that was a really good movie."
Mm.
Uh, I I liked movie like I saw Aladdin in theaters and I was like, okay, that's great. I was had all the action figures and the Aladdin costume and all that stuff. But walking out of Lion King in 1994 in the summer it's like it's a core memory as they say these days, uh, and one that I'll never forget. And just so powerful back then and still today. Every time I watch it, I get emotional during several of the scenes.
It's a great choice. I mean, and we already talked about, as you say, we talked about this quite a bit, but using Shakespeare as the base of your story and then building from there to create this incredible epic tale involving animals in the savannah in Africa. Just a great movie that came together kind of, I mean, I won't say serendipitously. It wasn't that. It was like a lot of hard work over a number of years, but just the fact that all the elements, as you say, you pointed out the music and the voiceover, and just it all came together to make this animated masterpiece. Uh, yeah, great choice. Yeah, again, favorite moment in The Lion King.
It is the the penultimate scene where Simba walks up to Pride Rock and gives his roar that signifies that he's the new king, and he gets permission from the baboon Rafiki. He's like, it's your time. Go up there, and man, that just it chokes me up every time just thinking about it, just because, and again, the score is just so powerful. Just it's such a slow build, and there's always, well, not always, but there's always rain in the climax of Disney movies is a cliche,
Mm,
but and but that's what it's for. It's like the most visceral visual medium, and they're cliches for a reason. It's because they work,
yeah,
and the rain winds up washing away like all the bones of the past, and just refertilizing the savannah, and it's there for a reason. It's not
yeah.
just rain because it's dark and it's the final
Right,
battle and
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
But yeah, but Simba walking up and the score, the song called King of Pride Rock starts playing, and I highlighted this in our best composers podcast as well, just because it is one of my favorite
that's right.
pieces of or orchestral music in film history, if not my favorite.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't watched or listened to that episode, I highly recommend that you do. It took us a few weeks to, we had to sort out some rights issues because we're playing clips of the movies, but that was one of the most fun episodes we've ever done, in my opinion. And we really get
Yep.
into the music.
Yep.
But yeah, that's a good list. I
Thank
think
you.
there's probably only two on that list that I wouldn't have anywhere near my favorites. Like none of them aside from The Godfather was on my original list, but all
Hmm.
those are movies that I absolutely love as well. Aside from maybe two, which I enjoy. I just don't have the same appreciation that you do, and that would probably be your 10 and ninth place ones, The Room and Team America.
Mm.
But all the rest of them,
Yeah.
yeah, great list.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think you kind of almost have to be American to really appreciate
Maybe.
what team, an American of a certain persuasion, like
Right.
because if you're like hardcore liberal or hardcore conservative, you're going to be offended by something in that movie. But yeah,
Yeah.
I happen to fall somewhere outside of the spectrum, so I can laugh at it all. So
Yeah.
all right, yeah, that was yeah. I had a lot of fun, and I can't wait for your list in a couple of weeks. And
Yeah.
some you've already submitted your list. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's some that I haven't seen yet that I'm looking forward to watching.
Mm.
And yeah, I think some of the listeners, subscribers, and watchers will be quite surprised because I think we discussed this a little ahead of the podcast that I think I wear my heart on my sleeve a little more, where I'm more effusive and we've discussed almost every one of these films in previous podcasts. So looking
Yeah.
forward to exploring some new territory with your list.
All right. Although a few of them will be familiar too. A few of them
Yes.
we've definitely mentioned before.
Okay. I know we were, and we are just doing one of these every other week. We
Mhm.
can't leave you hanging when we go back to Westeros. That'd just be a disservice on our part. So we're gonna do a reaction pod on this coming Sunday, because A Night of the Seven Kingdoms is coming out that covers the Dunk and Egg novellas of George R. R. Martin, which is a prequel. It falls right between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon, and it looks like a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna do it like a short, maybe at the very most a half hour recap.
Yeah.
And that's just because we'd be texting back and forth anyway. So we
Yeah.
might as well just hop on Zoom and let you all just kind of be flies on the wall on our conversation there. So,
And I decided not to go back and read the novellas just so that we would have a difference on it. So you've obviously read the source material on this, and I haven't. So I think that'll give us two different perspectives in our
yeah,
reactions to this. So I deliberately decided not to read these for that reason.
yeah, I think that'll be a really interesting dynamic because we've both read everything else that George
Yeah.
R. R. Martin's read about West. I mean, written about Westeros.
Yeah.
Again, I'm only a one vodka and soda in. Jesus.
Double.
Okay. Yeah. So with that, depends on when we get the Night of the Seven Kingdoms podcast out, but we'll see you twice next week. And I'm Zach Miller. He's Martin Cook. Oh man,
It went out.
100. Yeah, 100 candle went out. All right. Good. All right. Happy 100 and cheers. And here's to 100 more, buddy.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Cheers. Bye, everyone.